these days. I'm always interested in knowing. And I am the dedicated franchise advisor for a business opportunity called Presence of Mind. And Presence is in gifts, and it is a personalized gift store. And I'm going to be co-hosting this event with Kim Deutsch, who you also have been introduced to and is on the call.
Hello.
Kim's a fellow female Hello. Kim's a fellow female entrepreneur, business colleague, and friend. And she and her husband, Dave, are the founders or co-founders of Presence of Mind. But before we go ahead and dive into the content of this webinar, Women in Franchising, I do want to just kind of go through some quick logistics. We do have a couple of you that are on the call, and I think it is pretty manageable. Initially, we were going to mute to avoid any background noise. But Kim, I'm thinking since it's a small group, we may not necessarily need to mute, and it will allow for us to have just more of an informal exchange. And if we do start to,
I
and
agree.
then of course,
I
if we do
agree.
start, would you agree? Okay, excellent. So if we do start to get some background noise though, obviously we can go ahead and mute. I do want to let you know in the right side of your screen, you might be seeing a panel that says attendees. It's just allowing you to see a list of who is actually on the call. And one of the little icons there, it looks like a little cartoon dialogue bubble. And what that particular icon allows you to do is it allows you to chat, with us. So you can feel free to ask questions in one of two ways. Since we are not muting anybody, please do not hesitate to just stop us, ask a question. We'd like to be able to make this as interactive and as enjoyable for you as possible. Or if you prefer, you can feel free to just go ahead and use that little chat icon and just send us any kind of comments or questions that you may have. And of course, we're going to do our best to get those answered. We're expecting this webinar to go about, I'm going to say about 45 minutes. We are recording it. And in addition to that, at the end of the presentation, we're going to go ahead and we'll provide you with our contact information. So you have the ability to contact us afterwards. In addition to that, you were invited by your franchise consultant, and I definitely would encourage you to follow up with him or her after this presentation and give them your feedback and whether or not you have an interest in learning more regarding Presence of Mind, the personalized gift store. So let's go ahead and get started. Women in franchising. Obviously, this is near and dear to my heart as well as Kim's. But the first thing I want to kind of touch upon, there have been some articles that have been produced about why women make great entrepreneurs. And admittedly, so as a woman entrepreneur, I found it very interesting to see these articles about women in franchising and those that are in business for themselves. And one of the statistics that is out there is that 40% of new entrepreneurs in the U.S. are women. And this trend could partially be attributed to feeling some discouragement in the professional growth and corporate arena. And I have personally been a franchise advisor for over 8 years. And one of the things that I've discovered in working with individuals that are considering franchise ownership is that very often they are burnt out on traditional corporate America. And right now there is a lot of discouragement, a lot of uncertainty, and that often is a key motivator for women as well as men who are considering franchising. Not to date myself, but my father has passed away, and then my mom is in her 80s. And when I personally look back at my parents, who were definitely part of a different generation, they actually were with their companies for over 30 years each. Really, really different world back then. As of today, and via an economic news release that was put out by the Bureau of Labor Statistics, it actually tells us that the median number of years that wage and salary workers are with an employer is now 4.6 years. And I just find that really interesting. So things have really shifted dramatically with the time that someone spends in traditional corporate America, or I should say, or with one single employer. And because of that, I do think people are looking to take more control of their destiny, and we are seeing more and more women move into the space of franchising. And what we're finding is that women tend to be outstanding executors and collaborators, which are definitely critical skill sets for franchising itself. So they make for great franchisees. So let's talk about franchise ownership and why it is a good fit for women. If we could go to that next slide, Kim.
I got it. Yeah.
Thank you. A real key appeal for women who move into franchise ownership is the actual community itself. It's that whole philosophy, and we've got a standard quote that we use in the franchise world of saying you're going in business for yourself, but not by yourself, which really lends itself to being a part of something bigger, right? It's the opportunity to be a part of a franchise system, be a business owner, but you're not out there totally on your own. In addition to that, what we've also discovered is that more women are choosing franchise ownership primarily because they're drawn to the franchise's products or services. And they like the idea of really believing in what they are representing. Believe it or not, there are over 3,500 franchise brands that are out there. And in a recent franchise training session that I just actually attended last week, I learned that on average, every 15 minutes, someone is buying a franchise. So I guess the question then becomes, so what kind of franchise is really appealing to a woman? Again, it's that passion, having a passion around the product or service. And also there's a great emphasis that's being placed on their own personal enjoyment. So women want basically not only business success, but they want to know that they're going to receive that personal satisfaction out of that. And Kim, I know you and I can really speak to that, and that's part of the reason why you started Presence Design.
Correct.
So with that being said, there are 5 business skills that really come naturally to women, and I think I feel pretty comfortable tooting our own horn as a female entrepreneur. One, we're great organizers. It is just that we are wonderful at multitasking, and we're passionate people, and we have an intuition when it comes to hiring the right people. And let's just face it, we have the ability to do more with less. And if you're married, my guess is your husband would agree with all 5 of those skill sets. So really, franchising can come very naturally to women because of a lot of these traits. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide. One of the biggest obstacles that anyone who's considering franchising, that just seems like, okay, well, I want to be a business owner. It definitely appeals to me, but how do I go about funding it? As we all know, to own a business takes money. And one key item that you need to think about prior to moving into business ownership is figuring out your investment budget and identifying if additional funding resources are needed. Are you using your own money, or are you looking to receive funding assistance? There are a number of ways in which someone goes about funding their business. One of the most popular ways is the number one listed there, which is called the 401k rollover. And basically what it allows those to do that were in traditional corporate America and were able to actually create a retirement nest with the use of a 401k, it allows that individual to take that money and basically self-direct it into investing into themselves. Basically, they're buying stock in their own business. And it's what they call a pre-tax retirement fund. And you basically have the ability to access your 401k fund, penalty-free, and without taxable distribution. So it really is a very, very popular way for someone to consider funding their business. Another very popular and common way for funding business is an SBA loan. There are a couple of different types of SBA loans. There is one that provides you with up to $150,000. It's called the SBA Express loan. And there's also an SBA loan that allows you to get a loan above $150,000. Just to give you a couple of things for consideration, for an SBA loan, you typically are going to be looking at the need of having a 675 plus credit. No collateral is needed. And if you're looking for the SBA Express loan up to 150, usually there is a cash injection of 10% that is required. Let's say you decide to move into a franchise that actually needs equipment, and Presence of Mind would be an example of that. There is some equipment involved. Another consideration might be doing what is called equipment leasing. This is always a possibility. What's nice about it is it's usually a fixed rate. Again, you're looking at needing a credit score of 675 plus on all three bureaus. But usually what it does is it allows you to preserve your cash as you're getting your business up and running. And that can be one of the values of the equipment leasing. Another funding option that we frequently see people tap into is what is called unsecured lines of credit. Admittedly so, what happens with the unsecured lines of credit is very often it is just giving you that additional cash flow to run and operate your business. Unsecured lines of credit does require, again, that credit score of 680 or better. It does not require income verification, which is kind of interesting. But usually you can get funding amounts anywhere between 20 up to 200,000, and a lot of that is dependent on the strength of your credit. An affordable way to potentially look at funding a business is through your home, and what is called a HELOC. And HELOC stands for Home Equity Line of Credit. Now, what's kind of nice about being able to tap into a HELOC is usually it's a lower interest rate. Now, the biggest dependency there does come back to how much equity you have in your home. So depending on how much equity you have in your home is going to determine the size of your HELOC line, which of course is going to determine how much money you'll be able to really tap into through that home equity line of credit. And then last but not least, business partners. Looking into having business partners or even tapping into family or friends that might want to have some level of investment, that could be another great funding option. So as you're working with your consultants and you're trying to think through going into business for yourself, what is going to be your investment budget, I would highly encourage you to work with your consultant because they will be able to introduce you to different funding sources that can really lay out the details of these different options and what makes most sense for you. Okay. Let's go ahead and talk about Presence of Mind. Before I hand over the floor to Kim, I do want to just share, Kim and I actually, we go way back. We have some deep history. It's hard to believe that we've actually known each other for over 25 years. Kim, not to date us here. But the reality is this. You know, I admittedly so, the reason for that I am so excited about the Presence of Mind business opportunity is because of my history with Kim and Dave Deutsch. Not only have I known them for over 25 years, but I actually attribute my launch into the franchise industry. I attribute that to them because I actually worked underneath their leadership for 6 years. And Dave and Kim have spent 30 years of their professional lives franchising various concepts from business services to retail. And I think it's really, really important to understand who is behind the Presence of Mind business opportunity. And Kim and Dave actually started back in the 80s, and they co-founded a company back then called ExecuTrain, and it was an end-user software training company. They built it up to be a 175 million plus business in 26 different countries. Happy to say I was part of that growth, part of that ride. In addition to that, they were recognized as the fastest growing private company 3 times. They were also recognized in Success Magazine as the #1 computer training franchisor. I would be remiss if I didn't mention that Dave Deutsch was recognized as Entrepreneur of the Year in 1995, going back a little ways. But I think the most important thing is just to know that Presence of Mind is an emerging brand, but behind it is deep, deep franchise industry experience. Not only in 1 or 2 businesses, but they've really been able to see multiple business across varied industries and really have seen the business model from all different aspects, all the way from franchise development, refining the prototype, marketing, financial, legal, sales training. But one other thing I do want to point out, and you'll discover this as you are learning more about Presence of Mind, is that Dave and Kim have a very systematic approach to running a business. And that is really, really important for anyone that is looking at any franchise. What are those proven methods of operation? Is there a systematic approach to follow? What type of training is being provided? What is the commitment to the support and training of the franchisees? And I think you're going to find out with Presence of Mind that commitment is there with Kim and Dave. So with that being said, Kim, a little drum roll there. I'm going to go ahead and let you share a little bit about Presence of Mind.
Well, thank you, Pam, and thank you for those very kind words. We do go back a long way, but it's been a lot of fun along the way. I would like to share a little bit of background about Presence of Mind, and we are primarily a brick and mortar business, a storefront, and we personalize and we specialize in personalized gifts. And most of the time, we do same-day personalization. We do take advantage of internet and social media, but primarily, like I said, it is a brick and mortar store. I think the benefit of having an actual store for customers to walk in, they can touch things, they can feel things, they can try things on. And because there's so much detail involved in the personalization, the people that are helping, or salespeople that are helping the customers with their choices, they're more like consultants to them versus just regular salespeople. So I think there's an advantage of having the customer walk into the store and seeing what they're going to get. And I think when you look at personalization, competition, I should say, there are some stores, for example, or some places that do just one technique, for example, embroidery. Maybe another place that does another technique, engraving, or another technique. But one of the advantages I think that we have over our competition is that we're using multiple techniques to do personalization. And so therefore, because we have multiple techniques, we also can offer a wide range of products. The breadth of the products is an advantage because of the different techniques. The other thing that I think is an advantage is the turnaround time. Most of the time we're running, as far as our turnaround time, between an hour to 2 hours. As it gets later in the day, that turnaround time might be longer, but we do have production people on hand while the store is open at all times. And then after the store closes, what we do to keep that turnaround time short is we go ahead and catch up. We don't get behind, so that the next morning we start off the next day and are able to offer that 1 to 2 hour turnaround time. So that's also another advantage, because I think many times you go into a store that may do embroidery, for example, and the turnaround time, they may say, oh, it may be 2 to 3 weeks. Or if you order it online, it may be 2 to 3 weeks. And, just let's face it, we really live in a world where people want things today and now. And I think that leads right into our business model. Um, as far as the actual business goes, the picture that you see on this slideshow is the store in Blue Ridge, Georgia, and you'll see it looks more like a cabiny look. But it's very important to us that the stores blend in with the area that they are in. We're not like a Subway, for example, where you go into a Subway and every single Subway looks exactly the same, because just face it, every area is a little bit different. For example, in Florida, they're at the franchise in Florida is at the beach, literally a block away from the beach. And they wanted to incorporate blue into their color scheme because of where they are. They just felt like that would fit into the beach area. So if you were to walk into that store, it would look different. We actually have some videos of the Dunedin store on our Presence Salon franchising page, and you can see it has a very different look and feel. But it's not, we're not like a cheap t-shirt shop or, someplace that airbrushes license plates. It's more higher quality products. I would say probably the average cost of our items is between $35 and $40. As far as the retail price goes, we do have some more expensive and some less expensive. But as far as an average, you'll see most of them are about between that $35 to $40 range. As far as the history goes, Pam mentioned that we have been in franchising for many years. However, about 5 years ago, we moved from Atlanta, where we were for years, to Blue Ridge, Georgia, which is, if you're not familiar with Blue Ridge, it's a beautiful town about 2 hours north of Atlanta. We're in the mountains. We had always visited Blue Ridge for short vacations and in the summers to enjoy the lake up there and the mountains. And so when our youngest graduated from high school, we decided that we would go ahead and move full time to Blue Ridge and just absolutely love it up there. It's more of a resort town or a tourist destination. We have a population of about 5,000 people. So it's not a very large town, but we have a lot of tourists and we have a lot of second homeowners in Blue Ridge. So our market really consists of local residents, tourists. We also have the second homeowners, and then in addition to that, small and medium-sized businesses who want some apparel logo, their logo on apparel, and cutting boards and so forth. When we first started, when we first opened Presence Salon, it was not our intent to franchise it. When we moved to Blue Ridge, we wanted to do something that we could do in Blue Ridge, and we thought this was a great concept. We just fell in love with it, and to be honest, it's a lot of fun to personalize things. But then I guess over the first couple years, we had interest in franchising, and people would come into the store and they would say, "Is this a franchise?" And, Dave and I would look at each other and we're like, "Well, no, it's not. But, just so happens that franchising is our background." And so I think over time we just kind of, changed our mind and say, okay, well, let's go ahead and let's start franchising. And we don't want to be a huge franchise system. We're looking more in the 30 to 40 range as far as the number of franchises, more of a boutique type franchise system that we can feel more like a family and not like a huge organization. That's kind of the history behind how we opened and then started franchising. Our product lines, we have products for many different categories, but the main thing I wanted to talk about is the types of personalization, the techniques, I should say. We do, there's 4 major categories, and then in one category there's a subcategory, but we do personalization through embroidery, which is thread, which is, many people are familiar with embroidery. We also do personalization through vinyl and heat vinyl. Heat vinyl is designs that we actually apply to apparel or pillows, any kind of fabric, with a heat press. or just regular vinyl, like adhesive vinyl that we would apply to products like frames and cups. That's actually like a decal that you would stick to a product, or you could do a decal on the top back of your car window, for example. We also do sublimation, which is how we make license plates and phone cases. And then we also have the laser engraving. And we use a laser engraver, similar to an engraver that you would think of on metal, but it uses a laser to do it. And we can do things like Yeti cups or water bottles or cutting boards, frames. It's a really nice technique, and that makes it a really unique store, in that we have these different types of techniques to personalize items. As far as our customers, we have customers that range of all ages. We have customers that range products for young kids, with our backpacks and lunchboxes. We have teens, and they buy most of the apparel items. We have middle-aged ladies that they buy anything from clothing to gifts for graduation, to baby gifts to wedding gifts, and even seniors who buy gifts to spoil their grandchildren or their children. But the one thing that I will say about our customers is that 95% of our customers are women. We do carry men's products. However, it seems that women are the ones that are buying it for the men. So most customers that come into the store, like I said, 95% are female. With marketing, like I said before, we primarily have our storefront, and that is where most of the business comes in. And one might think there's a theory that says, okay, if you build it, they will come. But that is true to an extent. Your location has to be a very good location. You need a lot of traffic, but that's not true 100% of the time. And we actually have an online internet. And the internet business, just briefly, the way we are working our internet sales is that whatever online order that we get, it automatically goes to the closest franchisee of where the order was purchased, rather than where it's shipped. And we also have a social media presence. We have a social media company that does the social media for us. And then we also do outbound marketing. We are able to do closing gifts for real estate brokers, for example. We do a lot of school or team spirit. We don't really do the team jerseys. It's more the spirit wear for the girls or the moms, or that you would wear to games or school, but not actual jerseys themselves. We do a lot of local businesses if they want their branded apparel. Dance and cheer clubs are very big customers. And then again, we have other branded wear for churches and other customers. And I think that's that's kind of an overview of the business. I don't know if there's any questions, or Pam, do you want to take it back over to talk about the franchise opportunities?
Before we go into franchise opportunities, I do think it'd be a good idea to see if anyone has any questions regarding the business model, and just obviously with Kim's hands-on experience with the business. Shelley, do you have any thoughts or questions right now?
Not at this time. It seems pretty straightforward.
Okay, excellent. Gwen, how about yourself?
No questions from me either.
Okay. Diana, any questions?
I don't have any either, Pam. Thank you.
And I don't know if I've missed anybody else. Please feel free to speak up, though, if you have any questions or thoughts. I'd like to just kind of go through the next couple slides to give you a high-level understanding of the franchise opportunity itself. Kim obviously was giving you a good understanding of the actual business model. And as you know, it's a retail concept, But usually when someone is looking at franchising, they're really trying to identify, okay, A, is this a business that I can see myself in? And any business that you start up, the reality is it's going to be a lot of work, especially in that first year. But what you want to be able to do is you want to be able to see in 12 to 18 months, is this a business you can see yourself stabilizing in? And that really blends with your lifestyle. And one of the, key advantages, or what people find very appealing about the presence of my franchise opportunity, is that it's lifestyle retail hours. So it's not like, let's go back to that Subway example. It's not like you're going to be working those hard food retail hours. It's definitely considered lifestyle retail hours. Another great, business consideration is the fact that there's repeat business involved. Very much a loyal customer following. And that is really, really appealing because you're not constantly having to retrain or constantly going out and trying to acquire new customers. Sure, you're acquiring new customers along the way, but you're also enjoying repeat customers. And that's a great advantage. Due to the nature of this business, and it's kind of a fragmented space out there, and when you're looking at a fragmented industry, that's when franchising a business concept can really take over. And really, in this particular space, there's minimal competition. There's really no personalized gift brand leader that is out there. It is still classified as a very affordable retail concept. The investment range is about $198 to $270, and part of the reason for that is because it's a small retail footprint. Anytime you're considering a retail business and you are obviously having to lease space, the larger that footprint, the greater your overhead. And the fact that this is a small retail footprint is very appealing. Not only that, but that also bleeds over into other things. What I mean by that, let's take a look at your inventory. When you aren't getting into a huge retail concepts means a lot of money needs to be invested in that inventory on the front end. So it's just got a very nice balance due to the nature of the business model and the fact that it's a retail footprint. Kim and Dave, with their background in franchising, have decided to make this a very much of a franchisee-friendly model. And what I mean by that is that they intentionally have made it where it's a low franchise fee, a low royalty, and they're also extending large protected territories. And as Kim also mentioned, there are multiple revenue streams: in-store, online, and outward-bound marketing. You'll also find when you receive the franchise disclosure document that Kim and Dave are also providing you with what's called an Item 19. And the Item 19 is a financial performance representation. It's going to kind of give you an idea of what things look like on a monthly basis. And another step in our process is we want to guide you through how you go about putting together that business model. That is one step. So again, definitely a franchisee-friendly business model. Obviously, one of the other unique advantages of Presence of Mind is not only the proven system of operation, but it's also the training and support program. I'm going to dive into that a little bit later. But 20? Okay. A little bit of background noise there. But with the training and the support program, Kim and Dave have really designed a very comprehensive program to make sure that their franchisees are just going to be put in a position of success and just to increase their confidence. Like anyone that's stepping into business ownership, especially if it's your first time, you want to have some hand-holding. That's one of the greatest advantages for franchising, and Kim and Dave in their background, not only in franchising, but also in training. They really get that and understand it. So many great advantages with franchising. I know Kim already talked about some of the uniqueness of the model, all the way from the product to the new design, as well as the techniques. Go ahead and go to the next slide. As far as your total investment, again, it's hitting that 198 to 270 range. And if you decide that you would like to further investigate the presence of mind opportunity, what you will receive is what is called a franchise disclosure document. And an item in that FDD is what they call an item 7. And it's going to detail what it takes to get up and running in the business. Really, if you're just going to take a quick snapshot of what that investment looks like, one component of it is the equipment. What really allows us to have that differentiator of that, 1 to 3 hour turnaround time is the fact that these techniques are now done with technology. And that technology is on site, that equipment. So obviously that is one of the key investments. Another key investment, of course, is going to be inventory. And like we mentioned earlier, a site location, you're going to have those initial leasehold improvements when you first get into the site. That's going to be a one-time upfront cost, and then you'll settle into your monthly rental. And like all franchises, there is that initial franchise fee, and $35,000 as an initial franchise fee is actually considered on the lower end for a franchise business opportunity. But those are your key items that will be in that initial investment. Go ahead and talk about training and support, because I do think that this is so important for any franchise system, and really respect what Kim and Dave put together here. Their initial training program, it's basically going to be happening in 2 locations. It's going to happen at the franchisor's location in beautiful Blue Ridge, but they're also going to come to your location. Kim, if you don't mind me sharing, I know that you guys spent a lot of time with your Florida franchisee. How much, could you kind of give us an idea of how much time you spent at their location and just really helping them get familiar with the techniques and ramping up?
Sure. Yeah. So do you hear feedback there when I'm talking here? I'm hearing some feedback.
Nope, you're right.
Okay.
You're coming through just fine. Thanks.
Okay. Well, the initial training, we will we do 5 weeks of initial training, and like you said, it's a split between Blue Ridge and then at the franchisee location. What we do at the beginning is we cover basically how to run the store, managing the store, the technology for the POS, the website, the hiring, marketing, advertising. That's what we do the first week, and we normally do that in Blue Ridge because we have multiple people involved. Now, for the initial franchisees and for this year, we actually are also going to the franchisee location for the trainings, mainly the 3rd, 4th, and 5th weeks. The 2nd week is optional. We go back and forth on that. But what we do after that is we spend 1 week training on each technique. So we spend a week with, these are the techniques that I talked about earlier, a week with the vinyl and the heat vinyl. Then we do a week with embroidery, a week with sublimation, and a week with laser engraving. On this slide, for those of you who can see this slide, to give you an example of the technique that's used in these pictures, the license plates there are created with sublimation, and the frame that you see on the lower left is done with laser engraving. And then we don't do all this back to back because what we encourage the franchises to do, whoever will be doing the production, is to learn a technique and then practice with it for a while, and then we'll come back and do like another technique. So maybe 2 weeks at a time we could do, but we wouldn't do all 4 of those weeks for the production training. All this occurs before the opening. And then once there's the grand opening, we will have 2 people at the store for the grand opening, and also the first week or so when they're open for any questions, for taking orders and selling the products and for production. And then we have additional training as new technologies and techniques are developed. We continue with the training. We have a private Facebook group that we send out information out on. And so we continue additional training with anything new that comes out. Phone and email support is continuous, along with conference calls, and we will be having annual conferences once a year where franchisees can get together and share ideas with each other, which is the advantage. What we feel as a franchise system, with multiple franchisees, you can actually share information and ideas, designs, and information, which makes the whole system stronger. So that's an overview, Pam, of the training.
Excellent. I knew you'd do a much better job at it.
Well, thank you.
Yeah. Let's go ahead and go to site selection. Obviously, what do they say? Location, 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 right? Presence of mind works really well in a resort town or a non-resort town because it's gift giving, and gift giving is not location specific, right? So it just so happens that the original store, Kim and Dave's store, is located in a smaller resort-like demographic. However, presence of mind really is going to work well in any boutique type area where people live, work, play, dine, and shop. So if you just think of that, think of where you might go, enjoy shopping. You might go to that little boutique apparel store that you really enjoy going in, getting that shirt, that necklace, that dress, and right next to it, a presence of mind would be perfect. And we do provide assistance with site selection, and naturally, we're going to guide you through that process all the way from identifying a site, getting that letter of intent in place, as well as space preparation. And Kim and Dave have actually identified someone that really comes in, takes a look at that space, and helps you with the design of it. Because as we mentioned earlier, this is a boutique opportunity, a boutique franchise opportunity, and we want you to be able to blend and fit in with the environment that you're in. We do have a space preparation organization that we work with. As I mentioned earlier, it's a smaller footprint, 1,200 to 2,000 square feet. I think what's really important also to mention is the fact that this is, since it is going to be a boutique franchise system, what that means to you is a larger area. So definitely looking at giving large exclusive territories. What that also means is if you're interested in starting with one location and then you want to possibly go to a second store or a third store and start to build out that mini empire, you do have the ability to do that. So you have scalability as an option to you as well. And just right down here, so you can kind of see the differences in the two stores. In the lower left-hand corner, for those of you that are seeing the presentation, you saw that. That's a snapshot or a picture of the Blue Ridge store. And then in the lower right-hand corner, that's actually the Florida franchising store. Kind of gives you an idea of how it has that boutique feel based upon where it's located. And last but not least, any good retail concept has a strong point of sale system. And Presence Mind uses a product for their website and the point of sale system. It is a very well known POS that is used in the retail space. And they're constantly, doing updated features. Because as we know, things are constantly changing in the internet world. So just to be able to remain current and have a, what I would consider to be a strong point of sale background or backbone, I should say backbone to the technology, to the point of sale, and to the internet, and the ability to really be able to maximize the social media sites out there. Just to give you an idea of the commitment that Kim and Dave have to the success of their store as well as the franchisee store, they actually hired a social media company that really has just been off the charts effective in creating social media campaigns to really build a customer awareness base and really maximize the different social media networks that are out there. Kim, is there anything else you want to add to this, or did I hit points on technology?
That's awesome. I think you did a great job. Very nice. Yep.
Thank you. Right. With that being said, who's the ideal candidate for a Presence of Mind franchisee? Really, when you think about that Presence of Mind franchisee, the ideal candidate is someone that doesn't have retail experience. That is not necessary. What is necessary is having strong management skills and really feeling comfortable with delegating and holding associates accountable to details as well as customer service. This is a personalized gift store. So with that being said, that means that there is a high degree of detail that you really need to be able to be comfortable with. And not only that, but there's a high degree of customer service. And obviously that translates into repeat business. In addition to that, there's technology involved. So some degree of comfort with learning the technology is important, but as you already saw, there's a really comprehensive training program to get you up to speed with that. And it's like anything. When you first start using it, it may seem a little odd, and then all of a sudden it becomes like using your iPhone. It's just another piece of technology that you use on a daily basis. Like most franchise systems, really the ability to follow that proven system, very important. And the philosophy and the culture of the franchisor Presence of Mind is a commitment to service excellence and really having a service excellence mentality. If you would like to learn more about the Presence of Mind opportunity, the process is this. Please just let your franchise consultant know that you want to go ahead and have an introductory call. We'll provide you with a one-on-one introductory call with Dave. You had a chance to get to know Kim today, but we also want to allow you to get to know the CEO, Dave, her husband. After that, we'll provide you with the franchise disclosure document. That's going to give you more detailed information. And then we want to go ahead and schedule the next call with you. And in that next call, we're not only going to review the franchise disclosure document, but we want to be able to address any additional questions that come to mind and really kind of walk you through the process of what does it look like for you to build out that business model. So kind of give you some guidance on putting together that pro forma. From there, of course, we then would want to get into understanding territory, marketing, staffing, training, technology, just make sure you're really comfortable with those different aspects of the business. And then one of the last steps is to actually have the opportunity to go to Blue Ridge and have a discovery day. Meet with Kim and Dave face-to-face, visit the store, and really get that hands-on experience of seeing a store, visiting a store, and meeting with the executive team. And then assuming that both parties feel like it's a good fit, then of course a franchise opportunity would be awarded to you, and that would result into the execution of a franchise agreement. I'd like to go ahead and just open it up to any questions that anybody may have. We've covered a lot of information.